Supreme Understanding. About a year ago, maybe more, I did a dialogue on depression. That was part one. And I think I'm gonna do part two, right? Just while it's on my mind. I hate to say it almost. It's almost like it's embarrassing the fact that, like a dude like me who, really seemed like he got his shit together, be about his business, is successful, got a, beautiful wife, two great kids, you know what I mean? Own his home, own his cars, you know what I mean? Um, like still deal with, this motherfucking dark cloud of depression. But the reality is that um, shit is undeniable. Like you can't deny the fact that this is a reality for a lot of us. Um, and I guess I really do need to talk about it because if anybody's gonna talk about depression and be taken seriously, I think it will be me. I'm not saying it like I'm the dude, you know what I mean, like to talk about anything, but I'm somebody that like don't embody, like I don't be walking around my head held down. I don't be like trying to kill myself every day. Like I'm not like that. Like, and so I'm not the stereotypical idea of like what people think depression looks like. Yet I deal with depression, and I'm not. When I'm saying depression, for those of you that missed part one, I ain't talking about being upset. I ain't talking about being disappointed. I ain't talking about being frustrated about a little temporary thing that just happened. I'm talking about depression, like clinical depression. Like when I was 15 years old, I was diagnosed as manic depressive. Nowadays they call that bipolar. What manic depression means is there's a manic side to it, there's a depressed side to it. Manic is when you have these bursts of energy and activity and you feel like you're just gonna take over the world, right? Which is, kind of what allows me to do what I do at Supreme Design. You should see when I really get into these books, like I'm up, like I might just not even sleep, like I'm working. And then there's a depressed side, which is where nothing's worth anything. Like it's just like, what's the point? You just want to give up, you just want to quit, and you may just want to throw it all away. And depending on how bad it gets, you may really seriously consider throwing it all away somewhere or another. Now, among original people, there's this taboo on suicide. Like, suicide is for suckers, you know what I mean? Suicide is the weak way out, so on and so forth. Black and brown people are taught to be strong. But we found a way around that. What we'll do is we'll put ourselves in a situation where we'll get killed, and that'll be something that's known as suicide by proxy. I'm talking about this in this book that I'm working on. See, I decided to write this book because, within the course of the year that passed between the first video I did on depression and the second, how many people died? I think about almost 2,000 black men killed themselves. I'm talking about suicide numbers. And you wouldn't think that, like, because suicides are not really reported in the media, especially black suicides. But yeah, and that's not including all the suicides by proxy. That's not including all the brothers that went out and were victims of violent crime. When you add that number up, it really adds up. I'll put all the numbers in my book, but you can imagine that it's pretty sick. Then when you add in the deaths from alcohol and drug abuse, it's like, if you factor in all those things, suicide is not just the highest, the fastest growing cause of death for young black men. It may be one of the top 3 causes of death for most black men. And by extension, other people of color that live in urban communities that are kind of dealing with the same conditions that were created and perpetuated for the continued dehumanization and oppression of predominantly black men. In other words, if you live in a hood that was created to fuck up black people, you might be fucked up too. And yeah, it's deep because, original people being depressed and being suicidal is not really, it's not in our nature. I mean, that's just not really something you'll find among indigenous people. Like, that's one thing you just don't see. but the more you find Western influence on, countries, and on people all around the world, the more you see the rates of depression go up. That's why depression and suicide is going up in Africa, China, India. It follows directly with what they call urbanization and westernization. But naturally we're not like this. So there was a point for a while where there was something, what's the word, like protective factors, like insulating factors that kind of like kept suicide from becoming a real big thing. And depression wasn't that big until like drugs and just like really an opportunity for us to like engage in all the pathology that we find in this country, like among Europeans. Like we kind of like have absorbed a lot of that shit, and with good reason, because shit is fucked up for a lot of us. Like naturally any human being is going to have the potential to have a little bit of an imbalance in it, because a lot of this is just chemical imbalances, you know what I mean? Just like some males have more testosterone or maybe a little bit more estrogen or whatever, everybody got chemicals in them, and there's different levels of balance to those chemicals. You can be imbalanced slightly, you can be highly imbalanced. Some people can have serious issues because they're highly imbalanced. But when in our traditional societies, like people that were a little off maybe didn't have as many children, so it didn't really spread. But in America, the most fucked up people are typically the ones that self-medicate through drugs, alcohol, and sex. And so the ones with the most issues often be the ones that have the most offspring. And so we spread our issues at rates we never did before. There's a lot of us with issues. My father had issues. All of his kids have issues. And fortunately I got knowledge itself, so that really helped me deal with a lot of those issues, but it ain't something that you can just put in a little box and put away. Despite how successful I may be, I still have my days when, like, as Future said in Deep in the Ocean, the song where the video got, shout out to Future, the song where he did the little feature for How to Hustle and Win in the video. He said, sometimes I want to take the Escalade and crash it. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes I do. Like, sometimes I want to take this motherfucking Benz and just ride in the oncoming traffic. And that shit is not healthy, as you can imagine, But that's just kind of what we deal with. And the reason why I want to do this book, and the reason why I want to have these discussions on YouTube, is because we gotta start talking about it. Because the average young person of color who is depressed or bipolar or whatever you want to call it is not sitting somewhere in a little room and nobody knows about them and nobody knows what they're going through, and they just quiet and they just withdrawn and all that, and they, gonna take some pills. Like, that's not the case no more. Like, it's your homeboy. Like, it's your closest friend you don't know. Like, it's your brother, it's your uncle, you know what I mean? It's your child, and you just don't know, because they're not weird. Like, they're not, you know what I mean? Like, they seem regular, but there might be some shit going on, and we can't talk about it, because hell, it's lame to be depressed. Who you gonna tell you depressed? The motherfucker tell you to man up. You know what I mean? But you don't realize, like, this shit is a motherfucking battle. I am manning up every motherfucking day. You have no idea. Like, I'm fighting a fucking chemical war in my brain. Like, I feel the shit get triggered, and then I gotta do some shit to fucking fight it back. Without, and I'm not gonna self-medicate. You know what I mean? Because I know the fucking drugs and alcohol, and that shit ain't gonna make it better. Shit just make it worse. Plus I got knowledge itself, so I can't resort to no mysteries and you know what I mean? I can't look for no supernatural assistance, That works for some people, you know what I mean? Because that is their way to get away from it and to find something that makes them feel good. You can't even knock that, man. But it's not solving the problem, you know. We still have issues, and we're not fixing them because we're not even talking about them. You know, we out here getting ourselves killed because we want to die. We out here drinking away the pain because we want to die. Like, and I don't want us to keep on dying. Like, I don't. You know, I plan on being here. I plan on doing whatever I got to do to be here for my children. But there's so many of us, so many people my age, that's going to lose their life this year. And it's not by accident. And it's not by accident that there's no discussion that's happening about it. So, you know, I'm not going to depend on some government agency to start this discussion, man. I think we need to. So, look out for the book. It's probably going to be called This Can't Be Life, you know. If I change the title, I'll definitely let you know. But we're going to do a book on depression, and we're going to really solve these problems. We're not just going to talk about it. We're going to look for some solutions, basically.